Okay, people. Review time. That's great, and I think that's a good idea. What haven't I done? Done Scream. I haven't done Nightmare. How about something most people haven't seen? Ooh, there we go. People under the stairs. I think that's a good idea. Let's just set you up and make sure it looks alright. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, the people under the...
Don't you dare.
God! Okay, I'll review Insidious Chapter 2.
Hello and welcome to the Cavern of Terror.
Insidious Chapter 2 stars Rose Byrne, Lynn Shay, Patrick Wilson, and is once again directed by James Wan. Picking up after the death of Elise Rainier, the Lambert family begins to cope. They try to rebuild their lives. But this is a sequel, so we can't have that, can we? Chapter 2 starts out with a cold open done right. It sets the mood perfectly, and it's extremely good at elaborating on information that we received in Part 1. James Wan does a great job at simultaneously telling multiple stories in Part 2. While Insidious tells a more straightforward story, Insidious Chapter 2 has many layers. They play more with the other characters. They give them their own story to embark on rather than just standing around in the background. So you can safely say that I was happy to see that Leigh Whannell Specs and Angus Sampson's Tucker got in on the action. What can I say? I love those characters. You can probably hear them mowing outside. I love reviews during the day. People mow. It's awesome. I was also glad to see that Barbara Hershey had something to do as well. It was nice to see the veteran actress get some more screen time. Rose Byrne also does well with what she's given, but her along with the Lambert children play more of a support role in Part 2. Patrick Wilson is definitely a standout in this movie. If the first Insidious was Rose Byrne's film, then Chapter 2 was definitely Patrick Wilson's. He goes through a certain metamorphosis. You can say it's similar to what Jack Nicholson's Jack Torrance character goes through in The Shining. Needless to say, people, he chews up the scenery. He was awesome in this movie. I couldn't help but feel a Psycho vibe in more ways than one in this sequel. One of these things is a massive, gigantic spoiler, and since you got your pass in Halloween 5, I guess you're going to have to settle for the less spoilery comparison. Every time that they showed Lorraine's home, I couldn't help but think of the big house on the hill in Psycho. That has everything to do with the camera angles. Guys, I have a confession. I think I've fallen in love with the cinematography of this movie. But now that we're on the cinematography, let's dive deeper into the color. Color. Did I say color? The color grading is almost the complete opposite of the first film. Chapter 2 is filled with vibrant color. Purples, blues, reds, greens. It's a very nice contrast from the first installment. Who wants mac and cheese over pizza? Well, I guess if it's homemade mac and cheese, then I guess... Wait, am I doing a review? I love how this one connects up with Insidious. I found it fun to connect the dots. For me, it's satisfying to be able to say, oh, that's how that happened. On that note, I have no idea how they did it, but Leigh Whannell and James Wan made time travel work in a horror flick. If you've seen enough horror movies, you know that almost never works. One of my favorite scenes here has to be the dice scene where Carl, played by Steve Coulter, attempts to communicate with Elise. This is where they introduced a different way of getting in touch with people in the afterlife. It's a small thing, I know, but it's world building and character development for Carl. It's the little things that this first sequel does perfectly. The scares are super creepy. There's a certain room that definitely made me go, not the good one, the bad one. It's the imagery that does this for me. Like I said, it's creepy. I will say though, if you're not a fan of jump scares, there are quite a few, so you might get a little aggravated. As far as the antagonist goes, oh guys, this has to be my favorite. The Black Bride seems to me like the most real life compared to the other entities. Unlike the others, excluding The Last Key, there are certain elements in that film that make me feel like that could happen as well. This one just terrifies me because this stuff could actually happen. Some of it. You know, without all the supernatural, spooky stuff. Son of a bitch. Insidious Chapter 2 sets up perfectly for another sequel, just like they did with The Last Key, which this is technically a sequel to. Kind of. I don't know anymore, this franchise can be confusing. But I guess you can say that's a good thing for this series to have so many jumping off points. As I said in my review for The Last Key, this series is far from dead, and I would definitely welcome another film. Speaking of another movie, I actually hear that they're in development for a 5th installment. In the end, guys, I'm gonna have to give Insidious Chapter 2 a metal claw. James Wan and crew nailed it with this sequel. Is it sequel 101? Yes, to a point it is. But I can't flaw this film for that because they just do it better. Leigh Whannell's writing was on point, and to me it created a more cohesive vision in my opinion. The acting was wonderful, and by going more realistic and gritty with the antagonist, we got a much scarier villain. Alright guys, that has been my review of Insidious Chapter 2. What do you think of this film? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you like this review of Insidious Chapter 2, make sure you give this video a like. If you're new to my channel and this is your first video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell. It's very, very important. If you don't hit that, you won't get notified about all my future content. That includes my next review in my Halloween series with Drum Dums with Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and a very special review that I've been saving for a while, my review of The Strangers. I would also appreciate it, guys, if you follow me on social media. You can find all those links in the description box down below. But most importantly, guys, I've been Zach. This has been the Cavern of Terror. Stay metal, my friends.